So what was Ben Cagle's role at Channel 12?
Ben had a really cool story. He started off as a production technician and wound up the vice president and general manager before he went up to Johnson City and bought, I think he wound up with 3 radio stations up there. And, of course, we're happy Ben's sold them and moved back down here.
Can we get him on at 9:35?
This morning?
Cagle?
Hang on a minute.
You can get him on at 9:29.
Hey, Siri.
Do you know Ben?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody knows Ben.
Absolutely.
Let's see here.
Come on, Ben. Give us a call. He's listening.
Of course he is. If not,
He's going to be like, hello.
He will be soon.
Or he's getting a call from Russell Bean, and Russell's telling him to call in. Or Earl. Those 3 run together.
Hello, Ben Cagle. You're live on the air on
Careful.
Talk 102.3.
Yeah,
So
give us a call, will you, Ben?
Call us on the real line.
you got that, Ben?
Wait, what's your number?
267-1023.
Yep, you'll be on in about 5 minutes.
267-1023. Can you squeeze us in? We've been talking about you good all morning long.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we have. All right.
Sounds good. I'll give. What do you want to talk about?
Well, we'll tell you in a second.
Hurry. Call now. Operators are
standing by.
All right.
Well, that's good.
I'll guarantee you,
Hang
Ben
'em
knows
up.
a ton.
I'm busy right now for a few minutes, but I can.
What? Oh, come on.
You're gonna,
Give us a call.
In the words of Luther Massagill, I need you to stop what you're doing right now and attend to my needs. So 267-1023. 267-1023.
By the way, this person says Harry was used to the live TV wrestling banter.
Yes, he was.
In my archives at home, I didn't bring it in today, but I have the first check that was written to Harry Thornton, Nick Goulas, and Roy Welch for live wrestling.
Nick Goulas?
Not
like
a
Goulas?
copy of the check, the check
Really?
that they've all endorsed. And it was for like $159. But this was in late 59,
There you
early
go.
60.
So they got $50 a piece, basically.
Yeah, but you run it through and see what it's worth now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little north of $3,000.
Wow.
Not bad for a weekday
There you
and
go.
half a weekend doing live wrestling.
Was that the guy who owned Goulas' restaurant?
I think there
It
was
would
a
have to
connection
be.
there.
Wasn't there
Yeah.
one on Ashland Terrace when I first came to town here?
No.
A Greek restaurant?
Yes.
Not on Ashland Terrace?
There was a Greek restaurant. That was the Darris restaurant.
Yes.
Darris.
Yes.
He was a great guy.
Oh, Sam Darris was a sweetheart.
Sam Darris.
Loved him to death. Good guy.
All right, we're going to talk more about the 70th anniversary of WDEF. Chip Chapman, it's so good to have you here.
Good to have you guys. Can I do a live spot for you? See, Jim's got the paper down there. Hand it here. I can read it.
I remember hearing Harry Thornton telling a caller to crawl back under whatever rock he came from. I was a child at the time, but still remember it. See?
That's good.
You know, Harry had ratings that we'd all die for.
No question.
65, 70% of the audience.
Think about that.
It's amazing.
And David
Just to
Carroll
wrap
did
your
the
head
morning
around.
show.
Yeah, for a little bit. He did. But
With Helen, right?
With Helen.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yep. Let's see there. Harry's first co-host was his wife, Ruth, if I'm not mistaken. No, I'm sorry. If Ben's here, he can tell me. It was Helen. It was Ruth, I think. If Ben's here, he'll fill in.
He's on
that.
the line. Here he is. He's on now.
All right, Ben Cagle, good morning. Sorry to call you on live on the air.
Hey, Ben. So
Hey, I'm not going to be crucified for that billboard thing I did, am I?
what was that?
Probably.
No, not by me, you won't. Hey, Ben, as you know, I got to be back on the air across town at 10 o'clock. And unlike some other people, I can't stand walking into the studio 60 seconds before airtime.
Yeah.
That just doesn't play with me. So you take care of Jim Reynolds, Jed Mescon, and Art Santer, all right? And tell me Harry's wife's name. I'm drawing a blank on it.
I am too.
I don't feel so bad then.
Helen Thornton.
It was Helen. Okay, see, I had it right. And it was Ruth Boyer that came in when Helen stepped down.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm
I
telling
think
you,
that's,
Ben
I
is
think
a
that's right.
wealth of knowledge.
Well, Helen.
And by the way, hey, Ben.
She came in there several times. I filled in several times.
Gotcha.
There.
Ben, I gotta duck out the door. As much as I've loved being here, I did want to publicly thank you and our mutual friend Earl Friedenberg for coming down and hanging out and doing our interview the other day. It was great. Brought back
That was a lot of fun.
memories.
The only drawback to that, I could sit down for about 4 hours and tell you some Harry Thornton and Luther. No, and Mort Lloyd, that bunch, I talked to him right before that plane went down.
Did you really?
So many stories from that station. It's just amazing.
So, and in the words of Luther, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get out of here. Ben, there's a delivery here in the lobby for you. It's a 55-gallon drum of Preparation H.
I think I know what that is.
Where do you want me to have it put it?
Hey, so you were...
Tell me, I want to know about the Mort Lloyd.
I do, too.
Tell me the aftermath of the plane crash and what it was like then.
Yeah, did you get the call? Where did you get the call?
Yeah, tell me about that story.
Oh, golly. I was at the station. I was production manager when all that went down. Mort came right back to my office. He would talk. Mort knew me as a small kid, and he would come back to my office. And the first thing he told me when I walked in there, he came back to my office one day and he says, "Well, welcome to the club, Benny." And and I knew right away. I said, "Oh my gosh, he's called me Benny my whole life."
Gotcha.
So I closed the door of my office. I said, "Look, Mort, if you don't mind, I don't want to be called Benny anymore. I mean, to be honest with you, I hate that Benny. No, it's Ben, please." So he goes through this whole thing. He says, "Well, let me assure you that in the future I'll take that into consideration." We go through this whole litany of things, and I'm going to tell you Mort Lloyd's humor right now. But we talk a little bit. He gets up. He says, "I need to get back to the newsroom." So he walks all the way back down the hallway, and then he turns around, go to the right. He says, "Benny, Benny, 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 Benny."
Was that the way he talked? Was that how deep his voice was?
Oh yeah, Mort was his voice was deep. That's the way he talked. Yeah.
So what happened? Where were you when you got the call?
I was at the station. It was he had just been back to my office a couple of days before that, and I got the call. It was quiet, or it was devastation. The engine came out of that plane. There was so much centrifugal force. I'm told from one of the news guys there that it pulled it out of it, and then without the weight up front, it couldn't slide.
What
did you know that he turned off all the switches, the keys and everything. He did everything that he did as if he were had just made the landing. He had a while to think about that before that plane hit.
So he was flying the plane. Is that what you're telling me, Ben?
I'm sorry?
He was flying the plane. He was the pilot of the plane.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I knew that.
Where did it go down?
So he was just flying around Chattanooga, or was he?
No. He had family over in Middle Tennessee.
Okay.
And he was going to fly over there. Well, he also owned a radio station down in Dalton that I worked for down there.
I didn't know
little 10,000 watt rock station, and he would fly from Chattanooga to a little short hop. He wouldn't even drive down to Dalton. He'd fly down there. Yeah, he loved that airplane, and had a propeller that nipped off on one side, and picture a washing machine. You know how it gets a load on one side.
Sure.
Well,
Yes.
To go 100,000 times that when the motor's revved up wide open, and that propeller broke off, so you had half of a propeller on that plane, and it was. It was all over. Right
How many
there.
years was he?
It was a while before the thing hit, and it was total devastation for the people around there at the station. It was quiet. I mean, no one was talking. It was bad.
How many terms did he do up in Washington?
Well, he was running for congressional 3rd district. But he wasn't. He was never elected.
Oh, okay.
His wife Marilyn took over.
Sure.
They wanted her to run.
I see.
After that,
so it was like So he never had served. She just picked up the campaign.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember he came back to my office. He says, "Well, I'm going to do it." And do what? And he said, "I want to be in political. Do the political thing." And I know he could have done a great job. Marilyn Lloyd did a great job too.
Sure.
Do you think he would have won?
Job.
Do you think he would have won easily?
Oh, I think so. Oh yeah. The man was loved. He worked at when he left. It hasn't happened, I don't think, since then. But I noticed when he was at Channel 3 and then he came over to 12, when you looked at the very next rating book, you could see, the people came with him. And it was, I've never seen a trend like that before. I've never seen anything quite like it. He was loved. He was Chattanooga's Walter Cronkite, I guess you could say.
Was he
he was an amazing human being. I loved him dearly.
Did he not only deliver the news? How good a journalist was he?
Great.
Okay.
Oh, he was excellent.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've been the luckiest guy in the world. I've been able to be around some of these professionals, and I look around sometimes. I say, how in the world did I get lucky enough to be in this environment? You know, I was there on Harry Thornton's last day on the air when he signed off and went back, and then he had to take a break. I gave him a plaque. I was general manager of WDEF Radio, and Luther and it was Luther and then me and then Harry, and I gave him that plaque. And Harry was an emotional type guy. He looked at that plaque and he couldn't even talk. And Judy Corn, if you look at that, it's on YouTube. Judy Corn took the break.
Ben Cagle, station manager.
Take off your microphone.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
A
folks.
good friend, and you see why I think so much of this organization now, don't you?
Okay, Harry. Now we're going to take a little break. We're going to go away.
She said, it's time for us to take a break. Harry went back behind the curtain there and cried. You know, I just went back and hugged him. I said, I love you. It was hard on him. He had congestive heart failure, and it was a tough thing when Harry died for the station too.
Who are the other pillars? Who are the other pillars of the TV station at that time, aside from Mort Lloyd, Harry Thornton, and Judy Corn?
This person says Ruth Boyer was the host with Harry.
Yeah, Ruth Boyer was. She did a great job on the morning show there with Harry Thornton. Great job. Judy Corn did an outstanding job. Judy could get him fired up in a heartbeat. Now, Judy was when they talk about the song "My Way," you know. Then of course he liked Frank Sinatra's version. Oh no, heck no! You know, Elvis Presley did a better job of that. And Harry would come back on. He said, "My God, what's wrong with you, woman?" Frank Sinatra sang "My Way." It's his song.
Did they like
Paul Anka wrote it. That's Frank Sinatra's song, and boy, he would. She could get him riled up in a heartbeat. But they loved each other dearly.
That was my question. Did they like each other, and did they understand that they were playing off each other and setting each other up? Yeah.
So did David Carroll get a chance to know Harry Thornton?
No, I don't think David ever met Harry Thornton. And he didn't know Judy Corn. And at Luther's funeral, I was talking to someone, and someone came up from behind me and put their hand over my eyes, and I looked around. It was Judy Corn, you know. I said, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" So I knew that David Carroll wanted to meet her, and so I grabbed her hand. I said, "Come on, follow me. I want you to meet somebody."
Wow!
And so they had a lot of good conversation.
So, I'm sure.
But Harry Thornton was he was an old teddy bear. Oh, he was just amazing. He got so angry with me one night. Channel 12 would have big parties down there at his house. You pull up a chair. You asked me to talk. I'll talk.
Gotcha.
We were down at his house one night, and we got snowed in down in Ringgold, Georgia.
There you go.
And I don't know, there are 12 or 13 folks down there, but we can't drive. And we were just, golly, everybody sleeping on the floor. We can't drive out of here. And so it's just Harry and me in front of that old fireplace. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I did it, but I made the comment. I said, Harry, we're just rocking back and forth. There's snow's coming down. Everybody's asleep. I said, Harry, this is old Ben here. I just want you to say it one time. Just one time, just for me, Harry. Come on now. Come on, just one time. Say it. Wrestling is fake. Wrestling is fake. Wrestling is fake. And did you know he got so angry with me, he took that glass and threw it in the fireplace, shattered that glass.
Wow.
And walked in the kitchen. This is like 2:30 in the morning.
Hey, by the way, Bob, Mike Dunn just texted in and says, this is the greatest show ever. So can you hold on just a few minutes? Can you hold on while we go to a break?
Yeah,
we're coming right back.
Sure.
Ask Ben if he ever heard of Tojo Yamamoto, an old wrestler burning Harry's barn down.
Yeah, I told you a while ago, Harry, he got angry with me that night, but he came back in there from the kitchen and he apologized. I'm sorry. He did not. You talk about wrestling. He did not like that. But I directed some of those shows, and the wrestling was in Studio A over Channel 12. And the wrestlers would go in there in Studio B. Well, I was way up high. I could look down on Studio A and Studio B, and the wrestlers would go in there, and they had a bad habit. The wrestlers would go in there at the news desk and eat pizza and food, and they were trashy. I mean, they were horrible. And one day, Morton Lloyd goes in there. He gets ready to do the news. There's pizza hulls and stuff, and there's pizza juice all over it's just all over the place. And I can't repeat what he said. But the funny thing about it, the wrestlers would sit in there at the news desk and eat in Studio B and talk. I could turn on the microphone. I could turn it on audition and hear what they were doing down there. And they'd say, "Hey, how you doing? Oh, good to see you there, Tojo. Hey, what's going on with you, man? How's you? My kids are sick. I got this, blah, blah, blah. That's good to see you, blah, blah, blah." Then you watch them walk around in the Studio A, and they're ready to kill each other. It's
great.
It was funny. I thought so many times if I would have just told Olin Five Ash down there, I said, "Throw a tape on there. Let's record this here." I can't.
Oh, yeah.
So did they used to do live commercials there too, like bring cars in and refrigerators?
The Chattanooga Fisheries. I can't think of his last name. He was the manager down there. They would bring in a big fish, a big trout, an ocean trout or whatever, and Harry would hold that trout up there. Look at that fish. Look at this right here. I'm telling you, folks, this right here will cook up good. You put a little butter on this right here, and the thing about it, I mean, he would sell out of fish. It had the morning show alone at one time had a 71 share of the market, and that's it was just amazing. I don't think that's anything like that's ever happened since then.
Ben, I worked at the radio station.
Thornton, he was an incredible human being. It was hard for Harry Thornton to tell people that he loved them. It was for whatever reason, I don't know, and he couldn't say that. And we're down there at his place one day, and he made a comment to me. He came over to me. He said, "Well, let me pour you a drink here." And well, I'm going to tell you one thing. And what he was trying to do is tell me that he loved me. There were other people around there. And he said, some people say, well, for one man to tell another man that he loves him, by God, I love you. I love you, man. I love you. And it was hard for him to do. I said, "Harry, I love you too, Harry. You're number one." We'd load up and we'd go duck hunting out in Arkansas. And we were coming back we'd been out there 4 or 5 days. He told me before he told his wife that he was going to hang it up. He said, "Ben, I've got congestive heart failure." Of course, his wife knew that. Mm-hmm. He said, "You can't go out there with Ben Cagle duck hunting out there in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas County, Arkansas. They don't have any hospitals out there. What are you going to do? If I die, then I die out there. Ben will get me back."
There you go.
And he said, "I'm going to go." And at that time, you remember Christian Bernard, South Africa, heart transplant, and all of that.
Right. Yes.
And so Helen was pushing for maybe a heart transplant. And Harry Thornton, this went on. And he said, "Hell no. I ain't walking around for the rest of my life with a die-hard battery strapped to my back."
Is he buried in Chattanooga?
I'm sorry?
Is he buried in Chattanooga?
Well, Harry was cremated. And he said, no, he told me along. He said, I'm gonna hang it up. I can't do it anymore. We were in Memphis, or going into Memphis. We were in Arkansas, coming back across the bridge into Arkansas. And I remember he said, "Ben, you're the first to know. I hadn't told my wife. We're hanging it up. I'm hanging it up, buddy.
Wow,
it's all over." And then I just pulled off when I got into Memphis. There, I just pulled over. I just sat there and cried. And it was an emotional time. He was a dear friend of mine. He was like another dad.
Hey.
I just loved him dearly.
Hey, Art.
He was only 64 when he died.
Huh.
Wow. What were you going to say, Art?
I worked at the radio station on the weekends in the same building, and when they had the wrestling, they would open the side door of the television station to let neighborhood kids in to come watch the wrestling. And so these neighborhood kids were all over the building.
Wow.
With nobody to rein them in. They come in the radio studio.
Hey, Ben.
Well, Art was there. He knows about the good old day when the wrestlers go in there and mess up the news.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Ben, thank you so much for being a part of this. It's just been a pleasure having you on.
All right. It was fun. It was fun. Thanks for the call.
Thanks,
buddy.
Ben.